welcome to another episode of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories, an initiative by ET Edge. I am Ashwani Mishra, bringing to you conversation with CXOs over a cup of chai as we try to discover interesting insights into their personal and professional journey over the years, key lessons learned, their leadership traits, hobbies, and other such engaging topics. I have been joined today by Anil Khatri, Head IT South Asia at SAP. Welcome on Cutting Chai Stories, Anil.
Thank you, Ashwini. Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure to host you, Anil. As a kid, you were very naughty, I believe, and not interested in studies, Anil. Can you take us through your childhood, your schooling, and lessons that you've learned early on, which have stayed with you till date?
Sure, Ashwini. So it's a rewind back into my whole life as a kid. And as you rightly said, yes, I was a pretty naughty kid, not at all interested in studies. Given an opportunity, I would have been an illiterate fellow, honestly. But having said that, my interest in studies were very different. It's not that I was not an intelligent kid, and let me also put it that way.
Right.
And maybe I can share with you till my 8th standard, I was always the number one student in my school, number one rank in my class. Okay, I don't know what happened after 8th, and I then started to lose the grades, right? And maybe I became more naughtier after that, right? So, but I have a very few interesting things which I learned during my schooling times also, and I think it has helped me in my life also. So I see a lot of studious students, nothing against them, but I always believe that over studiousness is also not very helpful in life, because you need to be a rounded individual. So
true. Yes.
Being naughty helped me in some way. I could gather a lot of other extracurricular activity knowledges, which even help me today, because then that's how you know the world. That's how you know what bullies are, how to bully the people, how to work around, how to find your way out in the situations and things like this, rather than just being there. And honestly, there were many times when my parents were called to the school by the headmaster, and the headmaster was a very strict guy.
My goodness.
Yeah, and one good thing is that I also studied in a convent school. I think that helped a lot also in shaping up how I came up in the life, respecting different religions. Because coming from a Hindu family, studying in a convent school, we had a church attached to the school also. So we had to go to the church in the morning. And we had a Christ idol right in the pathway where we entered into our classrooms, and we were like kind of taught to really bow towards the Christ and things like this. So, that diversity and the way we did things helped me a lot in the schooling days also.
Right. And I believe after your 10th exams, Anil, you worked as a sales executive for a fashion brand, Weekender, right? And what made you do that? So
being naughty has its own disadvantages. So my father was always strict and stern, and at that age you are always rebellious, right? So you want to be on your own, and that independence was really grilled into me, and I wanted to say, hey, I want to have my own money, and I want to have my own life, right? And I want to be as less dependent on my parents as much as possible. So there were elder friends of mine who used to work in Weekenders, and I was discussing with them. And during my school vacations in the 10th standard, usually kids will do all kinds of activities, but I chose to join Weekenders. Thankfully, I got a job there as a sales executive, worked in the Weekenders for the whole of the 3-4 months of the holidays which you have. And that really shaped a lot. I learned that in life, marketing is very, very important, right? So yes, you need to go through the process of making a goods and the product, but if you do not know how to market them, then it's not worth it, right? And you learn that as a salesman there. And it also helped me really showcase how to showcase your skills, how to market a product, what the product is about, and also become very humble. As a salesman, you get to meet all different kinds of people, right? So you get to become very, very humble, and that's the first time I learned what customer relationship is.
Precisely, I was about to say you were baptized with the customer service experience, right? At a very early age, that way, Anil.
Exactly. And I still owe a lot of those traits even today to weekenders to say that, yeah, that's where they taught me what a customer relationship is, how to be polite to a customer. Even in today's world, in the service industry, right, there could be, you meet a lot of customers, they would be frustrated, not frustrated, but how do you greet them and how do you handle and tackle their problem? That's
Right,
important.
right, right. You went on to do your engineering, Vivek, right, Anil, right? So,
Yeah.
how did the intent to pursue a career in technology happen? So, was it well thought of?
If you really ask me, did I well think of? No. In those times, there were only two careers: either you become a doctor or you become an engineer,
Right.
right? I became an engineer. My younger brother became a doctor. So,
Okay.
so that's how you choose a career at that point of time. Honestly, uh, I and I will tell you, I chose engineering because I knew if I choose to become a doctor, I have to study much more. So it was the decision to study less, which one I have to
No, it
study
was
less.
it was well thought of.
Yeah. Yeah, and also coming from a suburb in Bombay, I'm a city boy all the life, which I have been coming from suburbs in Bombay. Actually, I didn't want to study engineering in suburb, though we had a very good college next to my house. I chose to choose a college which is next to a Worli Seaface. So I chose to do my engineering at Worli Seaface because I was less at the college than at the Worli
Well,
Seaface.
okay.
Yeah, very interesting journey at that time also in the college. So I can say, so like always, I was good as grasping things. So that's a trait which was there always. But I was not very studious in my studies and I didn't focus a lot on my theory. And if you really ask me still today, if you give me a journal to read, very difficult for me to read a journal. I'm more of a visual and a audio guy,
Right.
practical, hands-on, and that's how I learn things, right? I can't read and learn things. I really want to do things and learn. I think that way engineering was good because then you do a lot of practical lab sessions and things like this. That shaped up a lot of things. And during my engineering days, because I went to the town, I met a very different set of friends there, and they came from a business background. Most of them came from a business background as such, and that's where me coming from a very conservative background,
Right.
father, mother both working, so they were less risk averse taking guys. So whereas these guys, when I saw them, they were pretty much open to risk taking abilities. They used to talk about how they take risks in their life, how their parents have taken risk and grown and things like this. So that gave me a very different perspective, that how do you combine this conservative mindset with a risk-taking mindset,
Mindset.
and how do
Right.
you excel in that? I think that shaped a lot in my upbringing of the way I think.
Interesting. So lessons that these are very early on in life,
Yeah,
which
and you don't realize you are learning them. Later you
right. I
realize,
know.
that is what helped me.
Right. Your first job was with Van Computers, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah. This was a subsidiary of Wang. Wang didn't have a direct presence in India. It was
right.
a Wang mainframes in India. So this was a subsidiary of the Wang mainframes, a sole distributor of Wang in India. And these people were into mainframes and used to service a lot of big clients like Reliance, Bank Indosuez, Oberoi Hotels, and things like this. And I joined them as a very junior engineer, more like a trainee there to really go and learn this and service the customers. So I still remember servicing Reliance, sitting in the maker chambers on the EDP floor at the fourth floor. I think some of the people there would, if they are still around, would still be able to recall. I also went to Reliance plants in Patalganga, right up, getting up 4 o'clock in the morning, taking the bus, and then going to the plant. It was a 3.5 hour journey one way. Very interesting times. So I think the weekend career helped me there to be polite to the customers, still not show off your frustrations, even if you have traveled for 4 hours there and come there. And a different kind of an environment,
Right.
the plant environment is very different from a corporate environment, right? So made me learn a lot of things in there in the early job as such.
Right. And after that, I believe you joined Serdia, a pharma company. So moving from an IT to a pharma sector, was it well thought of again, or how did it happen?
Oh, honestly, no. So I worked with Digitron, that was the WAN computers, for more than 3.5, 4 years. And by the time I was heading the regional, the Western region for the service side of it, so servicing all the clients and everything. So I was the main point of contact for most of the clients. And Serdia, which is a subsidiary of Servier International, based in France. The GM, who's the CEO locally, they call it as GM in the pharma world,
Right.
really called me upon one day and said that, "Hey, Anil, we are looking for somebody to head our IT infrastructure, and we want somebody to be really there for us." I gave it a thought. Why not try a user industry? I was in the computer industry, then why not try a user industry and see what goes there? And somehow the connect was good with this gentleman, Alan Baladur. So he was a cusp of Indian. His forefathers were Indian, though he was a French himself, but his forefathers were Indian as such. So that's the name you get, Alan Baladur. So
Right.
his surname is a little of a Nepali surname as such there, right? So we gelled well, and then I took up the offer. Honestly, no plans at all. It just happened one fine day, and I took over this job.
And was it Alan, who recommended you to join SAP? No.
No,
Okay. Okay.
no.
Uh,
That's an interesting story. I can also tell you how I joined SAP. So again, with Alan, I had shared a very nice relationship, and of course, being one of the stakeholders, had a good connect in the senior management team. And again, there was a national sales head in Serbia who was heading the national sales for whole of the country as such. And I think somehow he should have been impressed with the way I work and things like this. And he came up one day to me and said that, "Anil, would you like to join SAP?" I said, "Why, boss? Why are you recommending that? I'm working for Sadia. You are working here. Is that something wrong I'm doing, right?" I was like
right.
little jittery, taken back by. But he said, "No, I think you're doing a wonderful job, and you have a good career opportunity there." The HR head of SAP, I think, had spoken to him, and they were looking for somebody for SAP in India at that point of time. And that's how he told me. And I said, "Now go back to the IT industry from where I came from. Why not? Let's give it a try." And I was already around 4 to 5 years in Syria by that time. So anyway, it was time to look out for something else at that time.
Okay, very interesting. So getting a recommendation from somebody within the company itself.
Exactly. So it just happened. So, I if I look back and see, I really never ventured out to go for an interview. Even from Digitron came into Seria, it just the offer came in. Then from Seria into SAP, the offer just came in. It's like I never looked out. Maybe that's the reason I'm still with SAP.
SAP. I was
Never looked out.
my next question is around that, Anil. So it's been over 21 years, if I'm right. So
Yeah.
how has been the journey with SAP, and for so long? What have been the lessons learned? I'm sure there would be immense of knowledge that you've gained over the years. So could you just take us through this 20 odd years, and what have been the influence that you have carved out?
Sure. So maybe I take you a little back. And, when I was joining SAP in Bombay, the SAP at that point of time only had 60 employees for the sales division of theirs, right? And way back in 2000, SAP in India, I'm talking about
Right.
from an GCO perspective.
Right.
And I was joining from an organization from Serbia, which had over 1,000+ employees. And I was like, come on, am I doing the right thing joining from 1,000+ employees to a 60 employees? Would it be challenging enough? Does it make sense? But then the VP of APJ, who was taking my interview, is still around. That shows that kind of commitment people have with SAP.
Right.
So he told me, "Anil, we are really looking for people who have the exposure, because that's where we want to take our organization, and we are going to grow multifold, and we are seeing this happening." So I said, "Okay, let me take a chance." And then how SAP has grown from there.
True. Yes.
From 60 employees in India to 10,000+
10,000.
employees in
True.
India.
Right.
So with SAP, I would say that because the growth SAP offered, Personally, I grew a lot also. The kind of different challenges we faced at every time were very different. So we started with the sales division, then the labs came in, a consulting division, which is a global consulting division came in, all different kinds of exposures to these different business units, which we had to fulfill a different requirements for all these things. So it looks to be a one company, but really the business units are so diverse and so different that we had to set up different kind of infrastructures for them, different apps for them, and so on and so forth. So it was a very challenging journey, and it still is. It's just not the organic growth which SAP has. We have a lot of inorganic growth also. We have acquired so many organizations, right?
Right.
Integrating them, bringing the cultures to them, ensuring that we have a seamless integration done, and we are still not ruining the products which they bring into our company. So that was something which was very, very interesting journey to be with. And honestly, how these 20 years have passed by, I didn't realize it.
Right, Anil. And in these 20 years, I'm sure you would have got many offers or opportunities from other companies as well. So again, did you try to evaluate them, or you said no?
Yeah,
This is
I would not be honest if I say if I didn't evaluate it, right? But having said that, look, I think we all know the brand value which SAP carries, right? So it's
right.
one of the largest software companies, the German largest software company. You have been seeing that we are a great place to work. So that shows the culture which we have within SAP, right? And for me, joining from one company to another company, I really needed to see what is the difference it would make. And honestly, I couldn't pinpoint a difference it would make to me. Yes, if SAP was not growing, if the brand was not that good, if the culture was not that good, that would have been the reasons which could have made me change. But I didn't see these reasons happening. And I need to be honest. Was the compensation not better? Compensation was better, but maybe I take you back a little bit in the story of Surya with Alan, and because I shared a very good relationship with him, I tell you a small story. After my first year in Surya, I was really not happy with the compensation I was being given as an increment. So I went to Alan and I told him, Alan, I'm just not happy. Okay, you promised me something, but this is not happening. I'm not happy. So he said, Anil, okay, let's do one thing. You write the figure here, and my commitment, that figure would be done. Okay.
Okay.
So that's what he said. Then he said, okay, now that we have settled that part, let me give you a piece of advice. He said that always remember one thing. If you are undervalued, you would be always on the upper hand in an organization. Then if you are overvalued, and if you are overvalued, you will be always in a position where if you want to run out or if you want to bargain out, you will never be able to do that because you're already bought in. Right? So I learned that lesson a lot. And
that's a priceless advice, Anil,
Exactly. So having said that, as I told you, was I not offered better compensations? Yes, I was offered better compensation, but that really didn't lure me to any other companies because some of the culture within SAP and the way SAP was growing and is growing is something extraordinary. You have to feel it. And I can tell you, we have employees who are 25 years, 30 years in the organization, and that speaks something, right? And I'm one of them.
What has been your leadership style, Anil? How do you lead and inspire your team?
See, as I told you, I'm a pretty hands-on guy, and I expect my team to be very similar. Okay, so I leave a lot of things for them to manage, and that's how I feel they would be able to grow. Having said that, pretty aggressive guy. Okay, I'm a result-oriented guy. I look at the bottom line, and that's what I tell my team. That's the bottom line which matters a lot. All the above is important, but does not make a difference if you don't hit the bottom line, right?
Very true.
Yeah. So maybe I sound like a sales guy, but that's how it is. That is again coming from the mindset of my college days, where the business guys always said, this is what we want to hit. And this is what was ingrained to me, that you need to meet the bottom line. So for me, the objective is very important. And I keep telling my team, once you have set the objective, always look at that objective and ensure that is being met. And I think the team values that for a lot. So they also value the freedom I give them to experiment and to fail. and at the same time hit the objective as such. So that's my trait. So I'm an aggressive guy, but at the same time, give a lot of freedom to the team to fail. But in the end, I need results.
Results. So very result oriented and focused that way.
Very much, very much.
Anil, apart from your corporate mandate, do you have something like a personal mission or something that you would like to do after you hang up your boots?
Two things. In the last 4-5 years, I'm in my mid-40s, so I saw around me my friend circle, my peers, getting diagnosed with a lot of lifestyle diseases like diabetes or hypertension and things like this. And somehow I felt if I am not doing anything, then I would be one of them very, very soon, right? So I took up then running. Believe me, I couldn't even run 100 meters when I started that, but today I can. I do a small marathon, 10K marathons sometimes. So I started doing this around 4-5 years back. Then I also do some gymming and some cycling sometimes. So this is something which I told myself that I need to live a healthy lifestyle and a balanced lifestyle. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So I think it's very, very important that you have to have this. And that's my mantra of de-stressing. Other than that, very recently, I could say it's just last 1.5 years time, I started to think, because I'm very active, I can't sit idle, honestly. So I was thinking, if I retire someday, or if I think of retiring, then what would I do? I can't sit at home, right? And or not do anything. Then I thought maybe do IT or IT consulting, but then I said, all my life I have done this. I need to do something very different. So I'm pretty much interested in the business side of it, but it may be too late for me to start a business. So I looked at the financial side because I love financials very much. So I'm pursuing something on the stock market side. Maybe also may pursue a CFA degree, a Chief Financial Analyst degree. After that, to really master the finance side of it. I know I'm not good at studies, but maybe this time I'm different.
Yes. Very interesting. Very interesting. I think before I wind up this conversation, Anil, I'll draw in Stephen as well. And there's a common question that I have for both of you. So what was some of the key challenges for your business last year, and how did you overcome them? And moving ahead, what are your key IT or digital priorities? So, Anil, if you want to take a lead on that, and then maybe Stephen can
I would. I think last year was very challenging and a very different year, right? 2020, nobody expected such a kind of a year to come in front of us. I think I keep saying that all the time we prepared for a BCP or a DR. We did test our BCP and DR. Nobody tested the DR and BCP at this extent, right? It was 100% tested, right? So in some way, it was pretty challenging. Were we 100% prepared? Nobody was 100% prepared, right? Did we manage it well? Yes, I think so. The team and everybody came together and managed it pretty well. In fact, I have a lot of comments from my customers internally and externally that we were really able to serve them much better and were able to solve their problems. And I think most of the organizations did that, right? I don't want to say that it was only SAP which did that. I think most of the organization did well. And it's only because of the people. There are some of the people who were courageous enough to even step out of the house at the time when people were not even ready to meet anybody. But these were the people who were courageous enough to step out, do what is needed at that point of time, and did what was needed to serve the customer. So in that sense, I would say, though it was challenging, but were very, very satisfying and a successful year, right? I think this was the most satisfying year from a career perspective and from a people perspective, because first, this was the greatest year of challenge. So it was very, very satisfying for me because I love challenges. The second part is that from a people perspective, because really we were able to touch the people, right? Deep inside, right? It was just not a service by an IT or something of that. We were really able to transform when people needed some things, and they were really grateful from their heart. So I would say we were really able to touch the people's heart last year. So and it's only during challenging times you can do this. So I would say, yeah, it shouldn't happen again, but at the same time, we could have this experience in our life is also a great experience, right? I doubt how many generations can have such an experiences in our life, right?
Right. In terms of the IT priorities, Anil, so what are your priorities for 2021?
So, look, I think we are going to continue to be in the hybrid environment, and this is what our team and our employees also suggest, that we would be in a hybrid environment. So, the challenge would be, and the priority is to see how we still fulfill the goals of the organization being in a hybrid environment. So, all kinds of technologies which we are evaluating right now. Let's say we are on a virtual meeting, right? But all of us have been doing this for the last 1 year. But how do we enhance this experience? How do we bring VR and AR into the virtual experience and enhance this capabilities of a virtual meeting? Just to give you one example. So that's on a radar for us. And how do we use the AI and the machine learning to a larger extent so that we are able to deliver to our customers what we expect to deliver. So those are the few things which are key on our mind. And last but not the least, in which we always had the mission, not from this year, from last 3-4 years, which helped us a lot during this pandemic, is work from any place, anywhere, not any place at home, but anywhere. So you sit at a beach also, you should be able to carry out your meetings and your work and environment. Of course, we need to have the telecom players coming on board with us to support all these things. I think they are ramping up a lot also. But with the 5G technologies coming up, I think we should be able to do this. So 5G is a big push which we are looking at also, so that we can really look at something very different, which we can then do with the 5G technologies.
Right. Yes, Stephen, let's hear from you. You're on mute, Stephen. You're on mute, Stephen.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I said, first of all, it was nice, Anil, to hear your story, the other side of you, and the Mumbai connect, and nice to know that you're a sales trait in you. So good. Coming back to your question, Ashwini, I think last year was the most challenging year, for all, but we saw some unprecedented challenges. The demand shot up, the demand shot up literally much more than what we expected. And that brought their own, challenges. But before that, the immediate lockdown that we faced. So we responded with a couple of initiatives from Lenovo. First, we said, work from home solutions, as Anil rightly saying. All employees were started, working from home, and organizations and employees both had different expectations. Employees wanted, seamless transition to their homes so that they could start working from their homes as if they're working from office. So they wanted accessories, work from home, accessories, bundles to make it as seamless as they could so that the productivity is not hampered. Organizations have different challenges. Organizations were like Anil, were a little concerned about security. When you have like thousands, and I think Anil, they have maybe 20,000. Anil, your
if we take the contract staff and everything, we would hit that near number.
So imagine that kind of a huge workforce working from different places, sometimes home, sometimes even public places. It's like a security paranoia for any CIO. So we came out with some solutions. Our devices itself are inbuilt, have security parameters and features, security features, which take care of a lot of these issues. And then we came out with software solutions to take care of the security. And we also told the organization, see, we have an army of service engineers. For you, with your IT team, may not be able to reach out to the thousands of employees spread across India. We will take that end to end. Leave it to us, and for us it is our expertise, and we will take care of the service issues, the support issues. So we came out with that. Then we opened up a contact center, Ashwini. This was unprecedented. We said, hey guys, you have whichever brand of PCs, call to our contact center. We will make sure that we will give you at least the level 1 support, whether you have a Lenovo PC or we have a brand from a competition. It's a it doesn't matter during these times. You please call our contact center and we'll make sure that we will help you in whatever we can. And we saw a lot of calls coming to us. Then finally we said now organizations want to buy and there's a cash crunch. So we came out, we tied up with the financial institutes and we came up with flexible options. I mean, people want to buy machines but want a deferred payment. So you don't pay now, pay after 3 months. You take a quarterly EMI scheme, or you can also go for a device as a managed service, end-to-end managed by us and on an OPEX
Model.
solution module. So these are the different, I think, ways we responded to the pandemic.
Very interesting, very interesting. Know both from Anil and Stephen. Challenging times called for very, very strong kind of actions which could put people and companies back for rebound and growth. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Anil. Thank you for your time, and it was a pleasure interacting with you on Cutting Chai Stories.